From space, Egypt looks like it's changing color. In the middle of endless tan, perfect emerald circles keep multiplying. A lattice of canals and roads slices across the dunes, with heavy equipment carving new lines every week. Tracks in the sand hint at buried pipelines. It looks like an attempt to make a desert bloom, maybe even to redraw the map. Are they trying to flood the desert? Or build something else entirely? On the ground, silence and speed. We fly in to see for ourselves. The build-out is staggering. New highways, giant facilities, and restricted zones. But getting anyone to talk on camera? Nearly impossible. Doors close. Sources worry about their safety. One thing is clear. This isn't a routine public works project. The military is in charge. Project scope. What is the New Delta? On official paper, the New Delta is an agricultural push on a breathtaking scale, turning a vast stretch of barren land into farmland. The goals sound straightforward. Increase domestic food production, create jobs and new communities, reduce dependence on imports. Egypt needs the land. Most farming still hugs the Nile and its delta. Less than a tenth of the country is truly arable. Meanwhile, a population over 100 million keeps growing, squeezing the fertile strip where cities, factories, and fields compete for space. Satellite reality. The pattern emerges. In satellite imagery, the transformation is obvious. New canals snake inland. Secondary channels and buried pipes carry water deeper into the sands. At the far ends, those green circles appear, center pivot irrigation systems sweeping like clock hands across the fields. It's the telltale pattern you see in the Arabian Peninsula and the American West. Intensive irrigation in arid land. The water machine, where the flow comes from. None of this happens without water. The New Delta cobbles together several sources. The Nile, by way of new canals and pumping stations. A massive wastewater treatment complex billed as the world's largest, pushing treated water to the fields, groundwater from the Nubian sandstone aquifer system. A colossal but mostly fossil, non-renewing reserve shared across 4 countries. Moving that water isn't simple. In places, it has to be lifted more than 100 meters. Pumping stations step it up and over ridgelines, feeding a web of pipes. Officially, one main canal alone is meant to carry several billion cubic meters a year. It's an artificial river system, engineered at breakneck speed. The catch: costs, salt, and heat-lifting water, is expensive. Energy becomes a hidden line item in every bushel of grain. Past studies warned that lifting water too high can make farming uneconomical. Deep aquifers tend to get saltier with depth, and fossil reserves don't replenish on human timescales. Long-term sustainability is a question mark. Desert soils lack the richness of the Nile floodplain. In the old lands, farmers can squeeze 2 or even 3 harvests a year. Out here, the heat often limits you to 1. To boost yields, nutrients and pesticides are mixed directly into irrigation systems. History rhymes. Egypt's long desert dream. Egypt has chased desert megaprojects for a century. Politics and control. Why the secrecy? Since 2013, Egypt has been ruled by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, a former general. Under his leadership, the military has taken a commanding role in large infrastructure. Independent scrutiny is limited. Budgets are opaque, reporting is tightly managed, and critical voices face real risks. For the New Delta, that means the public sees ribbon cuttings and glossy announcements, but little verifiable data on costs, returns, or beneficiaries. What's actually growing? And for whom? Walk the fields, and you'll see crops. But what reaches Egyptian dinner tables is a different story. The country increasingly plants high-value export crops, citrus, nuts, certain vegetables, because they earn hard currency. Then it buys bulk staples like wheat on the world market. On paper, exports have hit records in tonnage and value across hundreds of products to well over 100 countries. But many Egyptians still feel squeezed. Poverty rates remain high, prices have soared with repeated currency shocks, and food security is still fragile. The bill. And who pays it? Canals, pumping stations, Processing plants, grain silos, cold storage, roads, housing. This is infrastructure on a national scale. Official estimates for the new delta's infrastructure run into the high single-digit to low double-digit billions of dollars. Add the energy cost of lifting and moving water, and the numbers only climb. With public accounts largely off budget for military-led works, it's hard to track where the money flows or how returns are measured. Regional shadow, the Nile and the dam. Upstream, downstream. Egypt lives and dies by the Nile. Upstream, Ethiopia's massive dam on the Blue Nile has raised alarm in Cairo and Khartoum. Energy for Ethiopia, leverage over water timing for everyone else. Negotiations continue, tensions simmer, and the margin for error narrows. The new delta only works if the taps stay open. Why mega projects keep winning. Big projects are visible. They promise jobs, momentum, and national pride. They're easier to sell than slower institutional fixes, like strengthening local water governance, overhauling subsidies, upgrading on-farm efficiency, or protecting the old Nile farmlands from urban sprawl. But visibility isn't the same as viability. Bottom line, a bet on water, energy, and time. The new delta proves that with enough concrete, pumps, and political will, you can draw green circles on the sand. The harder question is whether those circles feed people affordably and sustainably. If the goal is foreign currency, high-value export crops can work so long as the global market cooperates. If the goal is true domestic food security, desert wheat is a tough way to get there. If the goal is nation-building optics, this delivers striking images from space.